All right, so yesterday, Dana White went on Instagram and announced UFC 322. We know the fight. It's Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena.
UFC welterweight champion Jack Della Maddalena defends his belt for the first time when he takes on former UFC lightweight champion Islam Makhachev.
We knew this one was happening because Islam moved up to 170. He vacated the belt at 155. Topuria became the lightweight champ, knocking out Charles Oliveira. So this isn't a surprise. We knew this one was going to happen, but there was a couple of surprises on the live that Dana announced. Number one, Leon Edwards, the former champion, the welterweight champion, the title that Islam and Jack are going to be competing for. He is also back in action and he's taking on Carlos Prates. So we'll talk about that one in a little bit. And of course, Valentina Shevchenko will be defending against Zhang Weili, who's also vacated a belt from 115 and moved up to 125. And I'm telling you, I cannot wait for that matchup. It's going to be very, very compelling. So we're going to talk about all those fights. And we're also going to talk about Khabib Nurmagomedov because he's weighed in on all the threats at welterweight. So let's start with that right now. Khabib Nurmagomedov, of course, the trainer of Islam Makhachev, and a long-time sparring partner back when his dad was around. He's very confident in Islam Makhachev against everyone apart from Shavkat Rakhmonov. Now, granted, Shavkat Rakhmonov, massive for the welterweight division, still undefeated. He had a close fight with Ian Garry, but he's the only one that Khabib is looking at as kind of a threat to Islam and not taking his undefeated record, but ending his winning streak. So let's see what he said. Khabib said, in the welterweight division, I see Shavkat as someone that commands respect and brings real risk. Now, of course, you know, they have a lot of respect for one another. They're from a similar region in the world. But as I said before, the man's still undefeated. How can you not respect Shavkat Rakhmonov? Great striker, awesome on the ground, and a tremendous wrestler as well. And absolutely gigantic for the division. He said, Belal Muhammad, he has respect for him. He said, Ian Garry, I wouldn't consider him as such a serious threat. He also went on to talk about Sean Brady, who's just doing incredible things. They just tapped out Leon Edwards, who's very pissed off, by the way, because he said he was offered a fight with the aforementioned Ian Garry, and Ian Garry turned it down. Khabib said about Sean Brady, I don't see Sean Brady as a big threat. Stylistically, he's too convenient for Islam. Islam would outstrike him, and if they grappled, Islam would control him. I don't see Brady as a dangerous opponent. He's strong and a good fighter. Gotta say, respectfully, I disagree with Khabib there. Sean Brady is not an easy man to control. He would not be easy to take down. He's very short, he's very squat. The striking isn't the best, but the grappling is absolutely goddamn ridiculous. But Jack Della Maddalena and Nurmagomedov went on to say, look, listen, of course, he does pose a serious threat. When you look at Jack, the man's on an 18-fight win streak against Belal Muhammad. That was a masterful performance, and it was the perfect warm-up fight to take on Islam Makhachev. I talked about this at the time when he beat Belal, so I won't spend too much time harping on that. But I just find it interesting that Khabib Nurmagomedov just disregards everyone. I get it, he's not disregarding Shavkat Rakhmonov because you got to respect that guy. But also, I think there's a little bit of favoritism because of the part of the world that they're from. However, the fact that he doesn't rank anyone else as kind of a threat to Islam, I don't say it's laughable, but I just do kind of think he's looking at it through rose-coloured spectacles. And fair play, that's his guy, that's who he trains. He has a lot of faith in him, so that's all well and good. So Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena, that has been announced, the main event, UFC 322. And I'm looking forward to it, but I'll tell you what, Jack Della Maddalena is bigger. He showed that he can stop takedowns. On the feet, there's absolutely no question. Islam has improved with his striking, that's for sure. You can't deny that. Did pretty good on the feet against Dustin Poirier at times. However, that was probably because of the threat of the takedown. But Jack Della Maddalena is on another level. He's probably got the best, cleanest boxing in the UFC. And the footwork that he gets from the boxing is so useful to avoid the takedowns and to stay off the fence. That was crucial against Belal Muhammad, and even when he was pushed up against the fence, he was able to stop the takedowns. Remember, Leon Edwards was able to stop all the takedowns from Kamaru Usman. He couldn't stop the takedowns from Belal Muhammad, and Jack Della Maddalena had no issue whatsoever. So it's crazy because right now they have, I think, Jack Della Maddalena, I was going to look at the odds, it's gone off. According to DraftKings Sportsbook right now, Islam Makhachev is a pretty sizable favourite. So if you were to put some money on that right now, that might not be a bad idea, because it wouldn't surprise me if we see an upset here and Jack Della Maddalena is still the champion at the end of the day. Right, the other fights on there, Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. This fight has got me very excited because Leon Edwards, It's been a tricky road for Leon Edwards. Of course, he lost to Bilal Muhammad, and it was a very rough affair, okay? He was picked up, he was taken down, he was slammed on his head, he was dominated for 5 rounds. And yeah, okay, maybe he was a little bit flat, but that doesn't matter. That's the pressure of being a champion. You got to show up and be the best version and beat the #1 contender every single time you step in there, okay? That's kind of the obligation. That's what's on a champion. You can't say, well, the man was flat. He was beaten soundly on the night, and then he fought Sean Brady, and again, taken down, controlled, and then submitted. And before that, we saw him fight Kamaru Usman 2 times on the bounce. So the reason that this fight has me excited is because finally now, after what feels like a lifetime, we get to see Leon Edwards in there with a striker like Carlos Prates that will bring the fight to Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is a tremendous kickboxer. He really is. I mean, look at that knockout over Kamaru Usman. He's got good takedown defense. He's got good, well-rounded skills. He's a premium athlete. There's no doubt about that. And now we get to see him go up against a striker like Carlos Prates. I thought it might have been Ian Garry, to be honest. That would have been an interesting fight. But for the same reasons, Carlos Prates, Ian Garry, I don't really care. Good to see Leon Edwards back in there with a striker. But I tell you what, Carlos Prates could be a big problem. Of course, Carlos Prates had an incredible 2024, probably the fighter of the year or the breakout fighter of the year. 4 fights in 24 and 4 knockouts, 4 sensational knockouts that people were just talking about. The man's fun, he's entertaining, he's engaging, he loves a cigarette, he loves to party, he doesn't take life too seriously. I'm a big fan of the guy.
What does a post-knockout cigarette feel like?
Feel amazing.
Who's smoking in there?
And I love the way he fights. Then he fights Ian Machado Gary. Ian Machado Gary just kind of stayed away, used a lot of footwork. It was kind of an unentertaining fight. It wasn't the most thrilling fight to watch. That's just a fact. And then in the final round, Carlos Prates finally stepped on the gas and looked dangerous, but it was too little too late. Then he comes back at the last pay-per-view, UFC 319, goes up against Jeff Neal, knocks him out cold in the last second of the very first round with that beautiful spinning elbow. And then crazily enough, we had Lerone Murphy in the very next fight in the first round, knocking out his opponent in Aaron Pico as well. So Carlos Prates is dangerous. The man's got real punching power, whether it's knees to the body, punches with the left or the right hand, kicks to the head. The man is aggressive. And after knocking out Jeff Neal, he will have found his mojo. And after getting defeated against Ian Machado Gary, he will have learned his lesson that, hey, you can't rest on your laurels. You got to go forward. You got to be aggressive. And this is only a 3-round fight as well. Maybe against Ian Garry, he was taking his time because it was a 5-round affair. This time it's 3 rounds, so he's going to go right at Leon Edwards. And Leon Edwards is tremendously skilled, but he does have a tendency to sometimes kind of be a bit too patient, to look for the perfect shot. Carlos Prates is not going to be looking to take him down. He spent a lot of time in Thailand, had about 100 Muay Thai fights or something crazy like that. The man's a striker first. Yeah, he probably knows how to defend the takedown, do a triangle and an armbar and all that type of stuff. But he's got one plan in mind. Take your head off your shoulders or drive his knee right through your stomach. And Leon Edwards is going to have to get busy. Of course, he's lost his last 2 in a row now. So it's kind of a tough position. You're the champion of the world. You defend the belt a couple of times. And then, of course, you lose 2 in a row. So if he loses 3 in a row and he talks of being a champion again, sadly, they will be a very, very distant memory, okay? And Carlos Prates is going to take it to him. Anyway, that one remains to be seen. And of course, the other fight that was announced was Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili. I'm a massive fan of both of these girls. Valentina Shevchenko is incredible. She really is. I mean, she can do it all. She speaks about 4 or 5 different languages. She's a badass at every facet of mixed martial arts, tremendously well-rounded skills. She flies airplanes, for crying out loud. She's like a real-life spy. You know what I mean? The type of woman that you see in these movies where they're kicking the out of guys that are 220 pounds. Valentina Shevchenko might just be that real life version of that. She could beat up a few guys. She probably could shoot him in the head from a distance, then jump in a helicopter and fly away. And on top of that, she's an incredibly humble woman. I'm a massive fan of her, and Zhang Weili is just incredible. So that's going to be a sick fight. So there it is, UFC 322. Anyway, tomorrow, Darren Till versus Luke Rockhold is going down. This fight is going to be insane. The build-up has been ridiculous, and it is heated. You might have seen some of the clips. Darren Till is going absolutely nuclear, losing his mind, screaming at Luke Rockhold, you're stressed, whilst being held back by 4 guys at the same time, like all security holding him back while he's screaming at Luke Rockhold, you're stressed.
What's up, are you stressed? Are you stressed? No, you little muppet. Are you stressed, are you?
I'm not sure why this one has got so heated, but it definitely is. It's definitely personal, and I will be doing a live fight companion on this channel tomorrow when the fight is going on. So make sure you tune in and check that out. I haven't done a live in, I don't know, it feels about 6 months, something like that. It's definitely been a long time. So if you are around, if you are watching the fights, if you're sitting at home, if you've got your phone in the hand, swing by the live. I'll be answering questions and giving some alternative commentary. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, ring the bell as always. See you soon.